Oh, I heard somebody got shot today. What's going on? Can we pass the big, beautiful bill in the house? Wait, what all got passed with it? It's literally called the One Big Beautiful Bill. Is this my studio? No, I moved. I told you I moved everything around. Moving the around as one person is actually so obnoxious. I put the sound barrier thing up there. I think I need to put the other one up though somewhere because it's still like echoey. I moved everything into the closet so it's further back, and I can put light in the closet without it making the whole room whatever. I don't know how I feel about this black abyss background of death, but I can put cute things on the table. So the studio is still going downstairs. It is. The studio is downstairs. What do you mean?
But like I'm not Mr. False Flag at all, but like every single thing that he did in the aftermath of the shooting is so crazy that it's like you could not have designed a incident like this. You could not have designed a better false flag incident like this. I'm not saying it is a false flag incident at all. I'm not saying that.
Kick Embed has a volume slider. Oh shit, nice.
I think this is just a one dude who is genuine in his actions and maybe, you know, a little bit brain broken. Okay. But it is crazy. This was legit the worst thing that could happen to the movement. No, it's not. And you guys need to stop doing that. That's another thing that I don't like either. Okay. Stop. Have some conviction. Okay. Have conviction.
Ironically, the reason he feels this way is because all pro-pallies are NPCs and just repeat the same phrase and wear the same keffiyeh. Why not just, I mean, like, it should be acceptable, right? Like, if we really truly believe there is a genocide going on and nobody's doing anything about it, and there's an Israeli embassy, like, this is, if anything, were these people targeted were they like embassy workers? Like, wouldn't this literally be the exact type of terrorist activity that these guys would want to put pressure on the genocide? Oof. True.
People living in the West have the most power over anyone else in the world to stop the genocide. We are living in the belly of the beast. We have direct geographical, physical access to the politicians, the propagandists, the weapons companies, and the supply chains that are facilitating this genocide. Protesting is great. We should keep doing that. But also, you know, I feel like we have to be honest with ourselves. 17 months in, and what is protesting actually accomplished?
He removed this, I think, from his video after LonerBox went over it. Fuck. What is even, I wonder where the echo comes from. It must be, it wouldn't be this curtain thing. It must be this wall. I hear it. You hear it, right? It's not like a digital echo, it's just the room is echoey. I'm gonna move this mic thing over here, hold on.
Raising awareness, sure. Divestment, yeah, in some places. But really, politically, materially, nothing. Israel just killed the most children in its history in a single night with total impunity, with a deafening silence among the Western media. If we want this genocide to stop, it's time to escalate. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, yes.
See, you can lay it out very easily, one sentence at a time. It's quite clear. We in the West have direct physical access to a bunch of people, including the propagandists, after just labeling a bunch of people creators, propagandists. What does protesting achieve? Well, some things, but, you know, overall, basically nothing. If we want this to stop, we need to escalate. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry. If you had a clear vision for what needs to be done to stop the genocide, you would say it because you want to direct your audience into something fruitful. Unless the thing you want your audience to do is against TOS. Criminal, violent, etc. He's calling for people to do something that he is too cowardly to say himself. He's calling for people to
Your
do
Honor,
dirty work for him. That's what this is. It is.
The shooter was definitely in violation of US TOS. We need to do something about it. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to... The underneath of my desk is all different now. I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go. Right here? Okay. What is this Spotify window? Oh, it's my upper thing, sorry.
Unambiguously a call for violence, okay? I'm sorry. And he doesn't want to spoil his cute little life. He doesn't want to fuck his income and ruin the little cushy career that he's.
Do you have a footrest? No, not on Thursdays because your mom usually works from Thursday through Sunday, so.
He's got a hold of. He doesn't want to do that. He wants other people to fuck up their lives and get thrown in jail or whatever else for him. He wants other people to be Luigi or fucking, what's his face, Aaron Bushnell or whoever else. And it's interesting that he said propagandists because that might actually encompass the people that he's just spent the entire video calling genocide defenders.
Based. The corner light has got to go. No, I think there needs to be something there. I think it looks cute. It could be like a lamp, like I could put a lampshade over it. I think would be better. Or I can put stuff on that table. Like the little dude that I'm going to sell. I think I have him down in the studio. But like I could put him down. I could put him on that table. And then the little light would light him. Because if I just kill the light over there, there's just like a black abyss. I have a bunch of stuff that I want to change downstairs that the guy who gives me advice on aesthetics was saying that in general, he doesn't like personally, like how black blobs of nothing look. So like he gives me this picture and he says like having textured stuff is a little better and that you can do more with it. I don't know 100% how I feel about that. Maybe. I think I kind of agree. But I don't know. I'll figure it out. Can you move your setup? I like 90-degree turned everything. So now my window is there, and now I can shoot further back into my room, so I have more depth behind me. Like I could theoretically, like if I were to put the bookshelf up, it would be further in the background, so it wouldn't be as like everything's not as crushed or compressed. I don't know 100% how I feel about it. I might change it, but I don't know. We'll see. Whoops. We'll see. Would you open a criticism when it comes to taste? You shoot me an email or something if you want. Only if you really know what you're talking about, though. But people, it's actually super helpful. When people email stuff and talk through stuff, it helps a lot. I love you a lot, but I hate when you comb your nice curly hair. Look, when I get out of the shower, it's wet, and then I comb it, and then eventually it'll dry, and then it'll curl. That's what it does, okay? May I pretty please have something to spend my literal thousands of channel points on, please? I don't even know, Casper. What? I'll figure that out, okay? What am I looking at? I have no idea what that graph thing means. Try by showing a picture of the Congo in the South Africa meeting based. And angle the camera up more. Yeah, the problem is I always angle it when I'm sitting up straight so that I'm in frame better. Like technically this framing would be okay, but then I make my way down here at some point. Don't comment, use a hair dryer. Heat is bad for your hair, okay? Please tell me what the fuck happened as an audio listener. I'll offer my mom as compensation. What are you asking me? Oh, what changed? Oh, I just changed my background. Okay. Stop distracting me. I'm trying to think if I want to get into this or... When I was rearranging everything yesterday, I had training day in the background. And I paid attention a lot closer than I normally do to this movie. And I started to wonder if this movie is a fuck ton of plot holes or things that don't really make that much sense. Any tips on how to debate with someone who uses terms without even knowing the correct definitions? For example, using words like Nazi, genocide, fascist, etc. Start making up words or hit them physically. I have so many questions. If you haven't seen this movie also, you're not a true American. This is an amazing movie.
It can't be like this.
It is this way, man. I'm sorry I exposed you to.
Why do you think... Okay, here's a question. And I know the answer to this, I think. Do you think Denzel Washington was planning on killing Ethan Hawke, killing his character, from the very beginning? The answer is no, right? Ooh, mixed audience reaction. That's why he made him smoke crack. I thought he had him smoke the PCP so that he had to play along, not so that he could kill him from the beginning, no? The reason why my strongest evidence for this is...
To it, but it is, you know? Fish. Come.
It feels like after this whole ordeal, after they killed Roger and Ethan Hawke's character freaks out, it feels like this is when Denzel made the decision to kill Ethan Hawke's character, because
All right, later.
when he's getting into the car here,
We'll lay off his price. All right. Yeah, just make sure that bathtub is clean, though.
make sure that bathtub is clean. Right now, it sounds like at this point right here, he's setting him up. Right now, he's taking him to go get killed. He's telling the guy, make sure you clean the bathtub after you kill him, all that. But then he spends this whole time here, like having a kind of a heart-to-heart. You could say that maybe he's just trying to fool him into thinking he still cares or something. But I mean, he could just drive him there. I don't know. One thing that I'm really curious about, I had nothing to think about last night except for this stupid fucking movie, okay? I can't tell if the Denzel Washington character is like a really amazingly deep, like multifaceted character in this movie, or if I'm reading too much into it and it's just kind of like sloppily put together. So like, I think there's a boring analysis of this character that might actually be true. And the boring analysis is Denzel Washington's character, he's just a criminal and he'll lie and cheat and say and do whatever the fuck he needs to do in order to, you know, like get his own shit done. That's it. I think there's enough in the movie though to argue that I think the more I think about this, I think this is the more accurate analysis, that he was a really good person. He was a really good cop, and just being in this too long, he got corrupted, I think that's the actual analysis. Because I think his heart-to-hearts with Ethan Hawke's character, it almost sounds like he's respectful of his purity, because he does give him props for the beating up the rapist or whatever. And he legitimately stops and he's like, hey, listen, man, no matter what I say, you did the right thing, right? And then when they meet Roger the first time, Roger says, he reminds me of what you used to be. Yeah, I got the biggest plot hole that I don't understand. His higher-ups were a bad influence on him? Oh, maybe. The biggest thing that I don't understand... Sorry, we're almost done with this. Fuck, this drove me crazy. The major plot of bringing a rookie to a huge bust like this just seems so fucking stupid. Like, in terms of plotting everything. It just seems really dumb. Like, I feel like he could have done this bust with his loyal cop guys and everything would have gone off fine and perfect. Like, what would have been the hang up there? They go in, they do the raid, they kill Roger, they steal the money. Like, it's boom, boom, boom. Like, it's good, right? They had to frame someone for the murder? No, they don't. They literally are serving an arrest warrant for a high-profile criminal. They could just say, like, oh, he shot at us. That was the plan anyway. They literally shot the dude. They shot one of their own cops twice. Seeing if he's trustworthy? Why would you see if somebody's trustworthy with literally the most insane, high-profile, risky thing you could ever fucking do? The bust was a rush job because he didn't get help from the higher-ups they met at the restaurant. Oh, I hard disagree. I think that everything about it was set up from the very beginning of the movie. I don't think anything was a rush job. Like they punked some kids who bought some weed. Is that how they found out that the Sandman, or they found out that Snoop Dogg's character was selling or something? Then they go to him, they figure out where he's getting drugs from, then they go raid that guy's house to steal the money. They use that stolen money to buy the arrest warrant for Roger, and then they go to Roger's house and rob him so that he can get money for the Russians. Like, it seems like everything is like kind of plotted out. Like, not that this is a rush job. It seems like this is what the plan was now. What the fuck? Okay. Have you been periodically checking the Mauled Marathon? What's the Mauled Marathon? Okay, I don't know. Do you think it's kind of weird that Denzel the black guy is a corrupt person, but Hawk is the pure white good guy? No, not really, because I think white people are better people than black people in general, so it makes sense. Okay, whatever. Just trolling. House Republicans narrowly passed Trump's big, beautiful bill. Here's what's in it. House Republicans early Thursday took a major step forward. Oh, so it still has to pass the Senate, right? Is it expected to pass the Senate? Took a major step forward on President Donald Trump's agenda, approving a legislative package that combines tax breaks, spending cuts, border security funding, and other priorities. House committees labored for months on the bill, which underwent late changes to win over holdouts in the Republican conference. It exceeds 1,000 pages and is titled the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a nod to Trump himself. Is this... Can I be told what kind of bill is this? Is this like a spending bill, or is this like a continuing resolution, or a budget, or what is this? Is there like a classification for these types of things? To provide for reconciliation pursuant to Title II of House Congressional Resolution 14, is that what that means? Remember when Remember a long time ago when Republicans were like, I don't like that we pass so much pork, that we pass everything in huge bills. It should be passed separately. Remember when they used to say that? Absolutely fucking epic. Republicans made one last round of revisions before the bill reached the House floor, boosting the state and local tax deduction to win over centrists and speeding up the work requirements in Medicaid to win over those who didn't believe the bill did enough to curb spending. Here's a look at what's in the legislative package, which is expected to undergo more changes when it goes to the Senate. Republicans look to make permanent the individual income and estate tax cuts passed in Trump's first term in 2017. Yikes. So here's your... this is a big, big, big expenditure to make permanent the individual income and estate tax cuts passed in Trump's first term. Is anybody who's asking for estate tax cuts? Jesus. Okay. plus enact promises he made on the 2024 campaign trail to not tax tips, overtime, and interest on some auto loans. Okay. To partially offset the lost revenue, Republicans propose repealing or phasing out more quickly the clean energy tax credits passed during Joe Biden's presidency, helping to bring down the overall cost of the tax portion to about $3.8 trillion. The bill includes a temporary boost in the standard deduction, another one, a $1,000 increase for individuals, bringing it to $16,000 for individual filers, and a $2,000 boost for joint filers, bringing it to $32,000. The deduction reduces the amount of income that is actually subject to income tax. So this means that anybody that makes, if you're married and together you make under $32,000, without even considering any tax credits or any earned income tax credit, any child tax credit, anything else, you owe zero in taxes. Okay. Jesus. Okay. There is also a temporary $500 increase in the child tax credit. Oh my God. Bringing it to $2,500 for 2025 through 2028. It then returns to $2,000 and will increase to account for inflation. The estate tax exemption rises to $15 million. Why? Who cares about this? And is adjusted for inflation going forward. Okay. One of the thorniest issues in negotiations has been how much to raise the state and local tax deduction, now capped at $10,000. That's been a priority of New York lawmakers. The bill increases the SALT cap to $40,000 for incomes up to $500,000, with the cap phasing downward for those with higher incomes. Also, the cap and income threshold will increase 1% annually over 10 years. This is just if you pay state and local taxes, you can deduct that from your taxable income for your federal taxes, basically. Several of the provisions Trump promised in the campaign would be temporary, lasting roughly through his term in office. The tax breaks for tips, overtime, and car loan interest expire at the end of 2028. That's also the case for a $4,000 increase in the standard deduction for seniors. And no tax on overtime? Why? Okay. Among the various business tax provisions, small businesses, including partnerships and S-corps, will be able to subtract 23% of their qualified business income from their taxes. The deduction has been 20%. Businesses will temporarily be allowed to fully expense domestic research and development costs in the year they occur and the costs of machinery, equipment, and other qualifying assets. This encourages businesses to invest in ways that enhance their productivity. Whew! I'm so curious to see how they're going to make up all this money. I'm sure it's coming, though. I'm sure it's coming. Parents and older Americans face work requirements for food assistance. House Republicans would reduce spending on food aid. There we go. What is known as the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program by about $267 billion over 10 years. So that's about $27 billion a year. States would shoulder 5% of benefit costs beginning in fiscal 2028 and 75% of the administrative costs. Currently, states pay none of the benefit and half of the admin costs. Republicans also are expanding the work requirements to receive food aid. Under current law, able-bodied adults without dependents must fulfill work requirements until they are 54, and that would change under the bill to age 64. Also, some parents are currently exempt from work requirements until their children are 18. That would change, so only those caring for a dependent child under the age of 7 are exempt. Okay. I kind of get that, I guess. If your child's going to school, you can probably work. But I'm curious how much money this even saves. And new work requirements for Medicaid. A focal point of the package is nearly $700 billion in reduced spending in the Medicaid program, according to the CBO. $700 billion in what, over 10 years? Damn. To be eligible for Medicaid, there would be new community engagement requirements of at least 80 hours per month of work, education, or service for able-bodied adults without dependents. The new requirements to begin on December 31st, 2026. People would also have to verify their eligibility for the program twice a year rather than just once. Republicans are looking to generate savings with the new work requirements, but Democrats warn that millions of Americans will lose coverage. A preliminary estimate from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office said the proposals would reduce the number of people with health care by 8.6 million over the decade. No taxes on gun silencers, no money for Planned Parenthood, and more. Why does this matter? I don't understand why you're just cutting the most random shit. Okay. Republicans are also using the package to reward allies and disadvantage political foes. The package would eliminate a $200 tax on gun silencers that has existed since Congress passed the National Firearms Act in 1934. The elimination of the tax is supported by the NRA. No shit. The group Giffords, which works to reduce gun violence, and silencers make it more difficult to recognize the sound of gunfire and locate the source of gunshots, impairing the ability of law enforcement to respond to active shooters. How often are people actually committing illegal shootings with silencers? Does this happen that much? Really? Republicans are also looking to prohibit Medicaid funds from going to Planned Parenthood, which provides abortion care. Democrats say defunding the organization will make it harder for millions of patients to get cancer screenings, Pap tests, and birth control. Trump kids $1,000 savings accounts. The bill originally called for MAGA accounts, shorthand for Trump's signature line, Make America Great Again, but in a last-minute revision, the bill changed the name to Trump accounts. For parents or guardians who open new Trump accounts for their children, the federal government will contribute $1,000 for babies born between January 1st, 2024 and December 31st, 2028. What is a Trump account? Why did the naming stuff after yourself is so fucking cringe? Holy shit. Families could add $5,000 a year with the account holders unable to take distributions before age 18. Then they could access up to 50% of the money to pay for higher education, training, and first-time home purchases. At age 30, account holders have access to the full balance on the account for any purpose. Funding for Trump's mass deportation operation. The legislation would provide $406.5 billion to provide construction of Trump's wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. Jesus, over how many years? There's $4 billion to hire an additional 3,000 new Border Patrol agents, as well as 5,000 new customs officers, and $2.1 billion for signing and retention bonuses. There's also funds for 10,000 more immigration and customs enforcement officers and investigators. It includes major changes to immigration policy, imposing a $1,000 fee on migrants seeking asylum. Jesus, there's no way internationally that's legal. Something the nation's never done, putting it on par with a few others, including Australia and Iran. Overall, the plan is to remove 1 million immigrants annually and house 100,000 people in detention centers. Destiny, I am 2A, Second Amendment, but reducing the cost of suppressors is probably going to make crime harder to solve. It will create a larger market for suppressors, like lower costs, and more will get out there. I feel like if you're buying a suppressor, you're probably already fairly wealthy anyway. Like, how many cheapo fucks are buying suppressors for their super ultra cheapo handgun? Like, I feel like that's some shit that you get when you're starting to get into luxury items for guns, but fuck, maybe I'm wrong. More money for the Pentagon and Trump's Golden Dome. There's also nearly $150 billion in new money for the Defense Department and National Security. If they don't say over 10 years, is the assumption supposed to be over 1 year? I wish they would specify a little bit more. Like, there's no way this is reducing spending in Medicaid $700 billion in 1 year. Right? There's no shot. What do we spend on Medicaid in a year? Total U.S. federal budget 2024. Okay, yeah, Medicaid is $618 billion in a year. So it must be over 10 years, I guess. These tax charts are unreal. The Birdman on YouTube wants to talk to you. Who is the Birdman? Center on budget and policy priorities. Apparently he hates Critical Drinker on YouTube. Okay. Families could add $5,000 a year with the account holders unable to take. Oh wait, we were doing this. Funding for. Okay, so we're okay. The Golden Dome. Provide $25 billion for Trump's Golden Dome for America, a long-envisioned missile defense shield. $21 billion to restock the nation's ammunition arsenal, and $34 billion to expand the naval fleet with more shipbuilding and some $5 billion for border security. It also includes $9 billion for service member quality of life related issues, including housing, healthcare, and special pay. This $150 billion is in 1 year, right? Jesus. Tax on university endowments and overhaul of student loans. A wholesale revamping of the student loan program is key to the legislation, providing $330 billion in budget cuts and savings over 10 years. I don't know why they don't specify this. Why is this an ordinary? I can't be the only person that has difficulty understanding this. Why would you should put it in every single one? But okay, the proposal would replace all existing student loan repayment plans with just two, a standard option with monthly payments spread out over 10 to 25 years, and a repayment assistance plan that is generally less generous than those it would replace. Among other changes, the bill would repeal Biden-era regulations that make it easier for borrowers to get loans canceled if their college defrauded them or closed suddenly. There would be a tax increase up to 21% on some university endowments. More drilling and mining on public lands. Okay. Let's see, this was released May 22nd, so this is in response to the current tax bill. The tax provisions of the House Republican reconciliation bill double down on the failures of the 2017 tax law, which was skewed in favor of the richest people in the country. People who make over $1 million would reap $89,390 in tax. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm here for it. Also, if this passes the Senate, I changed my mind. I am okay with the no tax on tips. But I think that we should start a movement in the US to no longer tip people unless they provide exceptional service. From now on, a tip will literally be a gift. Hopefully you get paid enough for your wages because your tip is apparently not your compensation. That's just a super bonus. So the bonus is only if you do a really good job. So no more tips unless you do an exceptional job, which means more than just bringing the food once and checking in one time over an hour. Boom. I'm okay with that. The 2017 Tax Cuts Jobs Act and reducing expenditures on Medicaid. adding up the House reconciliation bill is shaping up to add roughly $3.3 trillion to the debt through fiscal year 2034 and is setting the stage for more than $5.2 trillion of additional debt. What are we thinking for, do we think it will be a larger or a smaller budget deficit than last year? Increase annual deficits to $2.9 trillion or $3.3 trillion if made permanent. Damn. 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 What is our current budget deficit? What is this fucking gimp-ass horrible fucking chart? Holy shit. So our deficit, if I'm reading this correctly, our deficit last year was in millions of dollars. Fuck me. Is this 1.7 trillion? Am I reading that correctly? The budget deficit would go from so your deficit is how much money you have to borrow every year to shore up the difference between your spending and your income. Basically, that's your deficit. Your shortfall. It's your revenue shortfall. So last year it was 1.7 trillion. The budget deficit, if this bill passes in its current form, would go up to 2.9 to 3.3 trillion? Destiny, that's not cumulative. What do you mean? No, your cumulative deficit would just be your debt, right? I don't see how a deficit like that is sustainable. I just don't understand how... It's just insane to me. I don't know. All these tech bros and all these finance bros who are like, the most important thing is the debt. The most important... I'm sure all of them are on Twitter today, like going hardcore over the top on Trump for how horrible this is, right? And they're not saying in the most gentle way possible. Well, I just am not 100% sure. Potentially increases our annual budget deficit. Nice spelling, dipshit. By 3.3 trillion. Or wait, by 2.9 trillion. To 3.9 trillion. Which is about a 50% increase in our yearly borrowing. Is that correct? If it was 1.7, 50% of that is 8.5. It's more than that. Sorry, 3.3. Which is about an 80% increase in borrowing? That's so crazy. No, that's not an 80%. Wait. If your budget deficit... Oh, no, wait. Hold on, I'm not doing this correctly. It would be... Why is my brain not working right now? If our deficit was 1.7 trillion, And let's say it increases to 3 trillion. Three divided by 1.7? Oh, it's like, so it's like a 76%. We'll round it down to 75 to be nice. That's insane. This can't be real, right? Are they expecting this? That's just like, that's like comical, right? Am I missing something? Hold on. Fiscal year 2025 to 2034, deficit increase or decrease. Okay, wait, is this over 10 years? Because that would make more sense. This is too much. This is retarded, I think. As written and if made permanent. Oh, this is fiscal year 2034. Between these scores and other available information, we estimate that by 2034, the House... Okay. That makes more sense. Jesus. Okay. Because I was going to say, that would be absurd. So this would increase our debt by 2.9 to 3.3 trillion. Okay. And this would be over 10 years. So maybe borrowing an additional 300 billion per year, basically. We'll say over 10 years. Okay. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Wait, let me read this more carefully, sorry. I hate this 10-year forecast. It actually drives me crazy. It makes everything so weird when you read these. Okay, the Developing House Reconciliation Bill is shaping up to add roughly 3.3 trillion to the debt through fiscal year 2034 and is setting the stage for more than $5.2 trillion of additional debt if policymakers ultimately extend temporary provisions. Okay, so it would add 3.3 trillion. Okay. Over the next 10 years, as written, it would increase our debt by 3.3 trillion or 5.2 trillion if temporary provisions are made permanent. Okay. Although the reconciliation bill is yet to be officially scored in full and not all components pass out of committee. Okay, we estimate the 2034 House. Okay. Okay, would increase. Would increase annual deficits to 2.9 trillion or 3.3 trillion if temporary provisions made permanent by 2034. Okay, so it just means that our budget deficit would be, in 2034, would increase our deficit, how much we have to borrow. Okay. Wow, Jen, thanks for the 5 gifted memberships. Deficit impact, including interest in billions of dollars by fiscal year. Oh, so this is just how much it's expected to add to the deficit on top of what our current deficit is and would be. Jesus, okay. To be fair, this probably doesn't take into account hypothetical economic growth or whatever, because the Republicans are going to say, oh, it's going to spur on a ton of economic growth, which is going to raise new revenues, which is probably bullshit, but that's what Republicans will say. Jesus. Sorry, not 5 gifted subs, 5 gifted tips. Hidden provision in Trump's big bill could disarm U.S. Supreme Court. What is this? Provision hidden in the sweeping budget bill that passed the U.S. House on Thursday seeks to limit the ability of courts, including the Supreme Court, from enforcing their orders. Fuck. What was the actual link to the bill? I had it up. How is this? With the fucking flag. Judicial review. Reviewable claims. Uh-oh. Well, this is under the expedited permitting. The Natural Gas Act is amended. Okay, and then section 70302. No court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction or order was issued pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 65C, whether issued prior to, on, or subsequent to the date of enactment of this section, whether issued prior to, okay, based. To enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given. What is security? Like a bond? When the injunction or order was issued. Fed Civ Rule 65. My guess is this is a bond or a security that would be asked for. Security. The court may issue a preliminary injunction or a temporary restraining order only if the movement gives security in an amount that the court considers proper to pay the costs and damages sustained by any party found to have been wrongfully enjoined or restrained. This this would effectively ban injunctions or temporary restraining orders. So if you follow, okay, let me explain this, sorry. So if you follow my court case, the plaintiff is asking for a wacky preliminary injunction, right? And part of our motioning against, or arguments against the preliminary injunction, one of the things that we say at the end is, even if you grant the preliminary injunction, we are asking the court to force plaintiff to post a security. I think we asked, I don't know, it was $300,000 or $500,000, so that if a preliminary injunction is granted, meaning if a court enjoins you or stops you from engaging in some kind of behavior until after the trial is over, if you win your case and then the preliminary injunction obviously would be lifted, then you would be able to recover damages in the amount of up to whatever the security or bond posted was, which is probably reasonable in some cases to ask for, because you could be enjoining somebody that would hurt their ability to conduct business, right? You're telling them not to do something that would cause them to not be able to perform what might be like a vital business function or a revenue sensitive business function, right? But what this is saying here, right? No court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation. So this is saying courts basically can't use any money, so they can't enforce a citation for contempt for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction or order was issued. This means that if you want to get a preliminary injunction or a TRO against the government, you have to post a security that would cover all of the lost operating costs of the government that would have been incurred when the TRO or the PI was active, which my guess would be this could be on the scale of hundreds of millions of dollars, depending upon what you're talking about. No plaintiff is ever meeting this threshold. It's just, you would just never have preliminary injunctions anymore. You'd never have temporary restraining orders anymore. It would just never happen. Destiny, attempting to interpret law is adorable. Weirdo Shrine, if you think I'm getting anything wrong, feel free to type it in chat, dipshit. What does this mean about the TROs for those deportation flights? Well, since this is asking for a retroactive application, whether issued prior to, on, or subsequent to the date of enactment of this section, and since there was no security posted by the plaintiffs in those cases, that means that if you were to violate those TROs, then you might be held in contempt. However, the courts are now prevented from enforcing any of the contempt charges. So what it's basically saying is you can infinitely violate contempt stuff, or you would violate your temporary restraining orders, or you'd violate preliminary injunctions, and the court can't do anything about it other than they can hold you in contempt, literally just with their words, because they can't use appropriated funds to enforce. Meaning, I guess, like pay for and then send the U.S. Marshals to arrest you or whatever else. So, aren't the plaintiffs in these cases just individuals? Basically, yeah, and a lot of them, yeah. Is there a way the Supreme Court could find this unconstitutional? I don't think so. Is it in the Constitution how, like, injunctions or whatever have to be? Probably not. And I'm assuming it's considered legal because they probably ran it through a bunch of lawyers before. I mean, I think you can probably change your federal rules of civil procedure, or you're not even really changing that. You're changing the way the courts can issue injunctions without like constitutional amendments, right? Wow, Sean, thanks. Do you think this will pass the Senate? The thing is I don't know, because Americans don't know anything about injunctions or TROs or posting security. So I don't know if Democrats would make a big deal about it or not. It's like a very like in the weeds legal thing. I don't know. Is anybody talking about it? That is pretty fucked. We'll read this article now though. Hold on. I realize I can just close this door now. I have to listen to that stupid fucking air conditioner. How many? Is this a simple majority to vote on? Didn't this pass last night? It passed the House. SCOTUS still can rule in violation of the How? Why? You guys keep saying violation of the Constitution. For how injunction? Where are injunctions mentioned in the Constitution anywhere? Like, I don't even know if. I doubt that this would be like unconstitutional. That'd be my guess, but I don't know. A provision hidden in the sweeping budget bill that passed the U.S. House on Thursday seeks to limit the ability of courts, including the Supreme Court, from enforcing their orders. Let's see. Including use from a court for percent. Okay. No court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction or order was issued. The provision would make most existing injunctions and antitrust cases, police reform cases, school desegregation cases, and others unenforceable. Serves no purpose but to weaken the power of the federal courts. The provision would prohibit courts from enforcing contempt citations for violations of injunctions or TROs, the main types of rulings that have been used to rein in President Donald Trump's administration. U.S. District Judge Paul Zines has expressed frustration with the administration and yet to provide information that adequately explained how it's complying with the order. Does anybody care about this?
What are some of the most dangerous aspects of this bill?
How much time do you have, right? So I can spend a lot of time with you going through the parade of horribles embedded in this bill. I'll just first say the cuts to Medicaid really are catastrophic, right? You're talking about a lot of people, millions of Americans, a lot of folks back in Colorado, in the rural parts of Colorado that I represent, who are going to be thrown off of their health care if this bill becomes law. You're talking about veterans, right? Seniors who are receiving skilled nursing care. You're talking about the SNAP cuts, right, that are devastating for families, for single mothers, children, so many more. And then, of course, you've got all of these various measures that they have snuck into the bill in the dead of night, right? So midnight public land sales, where they're literally auctioning off hundreds of thousands of acres of public lands in Nevada and Utah across the Rocky Mountain West. You've got this ridiculous contempt provision that you referenced that was the subject of an exchange between me and Chairman Jordan, which basically would attempt to try to stop federal courts or limit the ability of federal courts to enforce contempt orders. Why? Because they know that they are, the Trump administration, losing in virtually every court in the land. And as a result, in their effort, in terms of the campaign that they're waging against the judiciary and the Article 3 branch of our government, they've decided that this would be the latest salvo in that effort. It's plainly unconstitutional, but they're going to go forward anyway. So yeah, there's a lot in this bill that would have a negative impact on the people that we're so privileged to represent, which is why we're fighting so hard against it.
Can't the courts argue that this impedes on their Article 3 powers? No, I feel like, just on my initial reading of it, I think it's clearly constitutional. I don't think there's anything unconstitutional about it. But
Walk through it together here. A constituent in Ohio who believes that their information was improperly released by the IRS. I remember you've served on the Judiciary Committee for many years. Hold on.
We're talking about in the context of immigration cases.
This is all cases. This is not immigration cases. The plain language of this statute that you have written applies to every conceivable case brought in a federal court, period. IRS cases, patent cases, immigration cases. If you have a constituent that sues the ATF, this provision applies to them. This is the point. And you can visit with your lawyers and maybe they can provide you with the clarity, but it is unquestionably the case that this provision applies to every plaintiff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
correct. I think we're on the same page now.
The judge can set the security at whatever level he wants. What's typically happening?
I don't believe that. I think that's bullshit. It's technically true, but I think my guess is it would be challenged. My guess is that would just be another thing to fight over. So one thing, I see a couple of people in chat typing this, like it is technically true that a judge could say, we're going to grant a TRO in favor of the plaintiffs, but we're going to require them to post a security in case that they lose the case in the amount of $1. Like they could theoretically do that, but one, this defeats the whole purpose of posting securities, which is kind of sad because in some cases it might be important to post a security. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have to post a security related to a preliminary injunction or TRO. You could be asking to enjoin somebody from exceptional behavior that's like important to their business. So it would undermine that. And two, I feel like you could probably challenge these at then. The government would say, hold on, $1 is not an adequate security. And then that would be another, it would just be another thing to fight over. It's so cringe that, it's so fucking cringe that the government can't defend any of its actions and they're just trying to nibble away at the most esoteric fucking rules. I feel like they recruited a whole bunch of fucking, it's like a whole bunch of like legal theory crafting of like, let's get a whole bunch of like logicians to go through every single law, every single rule, and see like what kind of weird loopholes we can fight over or what kind of weird things we can get implemented. It's so fucking stupid. We looked at the Rule 65. I don't know, did it say anything in particular about security amounts? It just said, I thought it just said what the or what a judge thinks is necessary. This is it. It's just one paragraph. The court may issue a preliminary injunction or a TRO only if the movement gives security in an amount that the court considers proper to pay the costs and damages sustained by any party found to have been wrongfully enjoined or restrained.
Happen in these cases, you just waving it. No one's putting it up, and they're getting this injunction that applies nationwide,
Correct.
which is the concern.
I hear you.
Are you okay with the nationwide injunction issued by one single federal judge?
We'll get to that part, Mr. Jordan. Let's
I hate this. I hate this new language. Nationwide injunction issued by a single judge. Like, welcome to jurisdiction and welcome to court. Yes, if you're doing an illegal action and the jurisdiction is federal, you probably shouldn't be doing that illegal action anywhere. The whole point of an injunction is the court has said, hold on, this action is not okay. You're not allowed to do it. It's not as applied to a singular individual person. How stupid. What a stupid argument. These new terms, universal injunction, nationwide injunction, that the nation is the federal government. Yes.
Okay. Let's complete the analysis on this piece, because to your point, as you
have you done the shooter manifesto yet? No, I got it open.
said, this particular provision doesn't require a specific amount of security. It's essentially saying to the federal court, it has to require some security. And my point is that this is a deep deviation from existing federal law. This has never been the case. We've never said to constituents, hold on, Mr. Jordan, I'll finish this, then I'll give you the chance to respond. We've never said to American citizens and constituents that in order to vindicate their rights in federal court, they're going to be required to provide a security when their constitutional rights have been violated by their government. And
I will say, though, you have to be careful. It doesn't say that you can't get an injunction. It doesn't say that you can't get that you can't get an injunction. It just says that you can't get this is about preliminary injunctions and TROs. This is about pre-trial or pre-court stuff. You would still get an injunction, and you don't have to post a security or bond for that, unless I'm missing something. Right? That can't be. No court of the U.S. may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or TRO if no security was given when the injunction order was. This is just for a preliminary injunction, right? This isn't for all injunctions, no? Because you wouldn't have to put up a security for an injunction at the end of the case. So you would still, like, ordinary injunctions would still be granted, I guess, at the end of cases or whatever, right?
violated by their government. And I find it astounding. I'm not sure that many of your colleagues understand the full import of this. They will by the time this gets to the floor. I imagine there will be a lot of limited government advocates who will find deep reasons to be concerned about this type of provision, because as you could imagine, it will preclude.
Does it say preliminary or just injunction? For some reason in legal text, they kind of like mince words sometimes. I don't know why, but no, like, think about it. You would never have to give a security for an injunction, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. A security is for a preliminary injunction because it could be that a preliminary injunction is issued against you. So say a judge looks at an upcoming case and he's like, ooh, I think you're probably in the wrong here. So we're going to stop you from this behavior, and then we'll have the court case. And let's say you win that case, then what happened is you're saying, well, hold on. you enjoined me from some behavior and I won my case. So I am allowed to engage that behavior. So fuck you. Now I just lost all this business for however long this case went on for. But for an injunction, you've lost the case, right? If somebody's gotten an injunction against you, then that means you lost the case. Why would you have to post security for that, right? So this is just for, even though it says injunction, this is just for preliminary injunctions.
Folks from being able to vindicate their constitutional rights. Now, I would also say the way that you have written it, as you've noted, it's retroactive, right? So this applies to any...
Well, I just want to say the situation we're trying to address is what's been happening around the country.
You didn't write it that way.
As you know, a single federal judge gets...
Yes, a federal judge gets to make a ruling in federal court over federal jurisdiction. Yes. That's how it works.
Case is brought to the judge, they waive the security and then issue a decision that applies nationwide to all immigrants who are in
the jurisdiction of the federal courts. Yes.
Why didn't you put nationwide in this language?
Well, we can look at the language. I mean,
it's 6 a.m. You're voting on this thing in like 10 hours. What are we talking about?
I thought injunctions just happen during trial. I don't think injunctions can be part of damages. Can an injunction be what you win at the end? An injunction against a behavior? Wait, I thought an injunction could be like the end of a court case, like a permanent injunction. Westlaw. Hello? An equitable remedy in which a court orders a party to perform or refrain from performing a particular act. A prohibitory injunction is an order forbidding a party from performing an act. A mandatory injunction is an order to perform an act. An injunction may be temporary, in place till judgment is entered, or permanent, continuing after the conclusion of proceedings, either perpetually or until a specified date, a final injunction. Courts usually grant injunctions as final remedies only where the applicant demonstrates that its legal rights have been infringed and money damages are inadequate compensation. An injunction needs to be in clear terms. Okay. These attempts to gut the courts is very similar in nature to what Bibi attempted in Israel with the judicial overhaul pre-October 7th. They do illegal shit, lose in court, and then blame the judiciary. We call that based. I don't get it. Did he get in trouble for making fun of shawarma? Too far. Okay. Trump administration ends Harvard's ability to enroll international students. Is enroll really spelled with one L? Verb, enroll. Holy shit. That's crazy, chat. The Trump admin has moved to end Harvard's ability to enroll international students, escalating a standoff. Homeland Security Kristi Noem, who didn't know what habeas corpus meant, wrote an act the administration revoked Harvard student exchange visitor program certification as a result of their failure to... Jesus. Okay, hold on. Quick new memes.
Start counting.
5, 6, 7.
In 4, damn it! Look at me!
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Now, was I rushing or was I dragging? Count again.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Rushing or dragging?
Rushing.
So you do know the difference! If you deliberately sabotage my band, I will fuck you like a pig. Start counting.